Bare naked. Bare naked. Bare naked. ABCs. Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, a man-made podcast where we discuss every Bare Naked Ladies song from 7 to Y. And joining me tonight, I have a gentleman and two ladies. So it's they were on the TV show Two Men, a Lady, and a pizza parlor. How did that go? I don't remember.
Two girls and a pizza place. Two
guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
it.
But we've thanks.
As you should. Oh, man.
No, but we got two girls, a guy, and a Tyler.
Yay! We love it, Tyler.
Wait, so I'm the pizza place?
Tyler's the pizza place.
Do you deliver?
I wasn't gonna out you, man, but I outed you.
Oh.
Is that a subsection? Yeah. Tyler identifies as a pizza place.
My pronouns
No, he's
are
DiGiorno.
Z-za. There's a peep.
Nice. There you go.
Whatever.
We're on to something new here.
Can we all identify as Ziza?
Let it not be said that we're not on the cutting edge.
Yes.
I will say my pronouns are ye and ha.
Oh my god.
pizza
That's
cutting
fantastic.
I do.
Yeah.
I do garlic not
Oh,
knowing.
yes.
Oh.
So aggressive.
I must ask you.
Ah.
I must ask you.
All right, enough with the cheesy jokes.
Oh,
Aaron, your humor is very circular.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Because tonight we are talking about the song Man-Made Lake, which is off from Detour De Force. If you have not heard this song before, here is a quick snippet.
I can open up this engine in any direction. I can never get away from shore. You can never lose sight of me, even if I might be taking on water on a man-made lake.
And this song is written between Ed Robertson and Donovan Woods. Now, they wrote this just a few years ago. This, like I said, Tour de Force. So what, 2008? No, 2020? So,
I
Yeah.
think it came out in 2022.
did it come out in 2022?
Jeez.
Jeez, you like
2021. 2021.
Hold on. I got it right here.
Hey, I'm old. I gotta have my glasses on.
2021, according to the vinyl.
So, they
Came out. as-
they have played this 45 times in concert
really?
since they've released this.
Not nearly enough.
And all
This is
of those were in 1 year. Actually, to be honest, all those were in a 6-month period of time. They played it the first time on June 3rd in 2022. They played it the last time December 22nd, 2022.
Fascinating.
I mean, I remember going to see this tour of Bare Naked Ladies and being like, wow, they played a lot of their new music and they made me like Detour De Force by playing it. This is one of the stronger songs from the album, and them playing this song live is one of the reasons why I was able to come to terms with the strengths of this album and figure out where its heart was, because this song is where it is.
That was a very astute.
Yes.
Well done, Tyler.
I agree. I just
No
had to
one else has anything to add.
Oh, my Lanta. We're off the rails, Tyler. I'm so sorry.
Well, I wanted to ask because I had assumed this was a cover until I did a little cursory research. And you know, I was thinking of it in terms of Donovan Woods having the original version on in his album. I'm sorry, I can't recall the name of the album. Do you remember, Tracy?
With people.
With People. Okay.
Which is not
So,
to be
I don't
confused
know-
with Up With People, which
Up With People.
Get your prepositions straight.
I knew someone who was in Up With People.
is that even a thing anymore? I did too. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got stuff here from Up With People in my little thing I'm sorting through, actually.
Oh, were you in Up With People?
I was not,
Okay.
but they came over.
Okay.
They came.
I don't
mystery.
really know
Yes.
who.
Up with
Up With
people came
People?
over and through and by.
Not a
Well,
sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
I don't really know who Donovan Woods
Nah.
is.
Canadian musician, and he has a version of this song. I was going to ask Tracy if you knew which came first, if it's a chicken and an egg kind of thing, if they both kind of spontaneously manifested around the same time, because I know that he worked on the song, as you say, with Ed together.
Correct. So they both agreed to release this, on their own. He released Without People in November 6, 2020. So his album came out first, but they recorded and wrote this together. I'm actually a little astounded that they didn't just have him on this album. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard his version of it.
I love his version.
Yeah, it's not significantly different. It's very simple.
I'm mad at Tracy now for not telling me there was a whole other version of the song that I should have listened to.
Yeah,
Okay,
Tracy.
well,
Put it in the chat. You put it in the chat, but that was a little while ago. But yeah.
His
I
version
gotta
is
make sure I turn the sound on. Hold on.
more stripped down, simpler. Oh, here we go.
Hold on, we're just going to talk over
Commercials.
Aaron.
E
I
equals
couldn't
MC
hear
squared.
Aaron talking.
But
Same as it ever was.
I can open up this engine any direction. I can never get away from the shore, and you can never lose sight of me, even if I might be taking on water on a man-made lake.
Okay, now everyone guess which one is my favorite.
I think you said Donovan's.
I didn't say, but I probably indicated it when
Indicated.
you're like, "There's not much difference," and I was like, "Well, I think that the stripped down kind of aesthetic suits the song better. I like the kind of wispy feel to the vocals. They're almost reminiscent of like a Nick Drake, or maybe a better contemporary analog would be like Andrew Bird.
Yeah.
It has a more forlorn feel. It is a couple of tones lower as far as the key, and it's, I think, just a hair slower. And it's probably not recorded to a click track, so it flows a little more. So for me, it seems, yeah, there's almost kind of like an Elliott Smith quality in it's more country than his kind of oeuvre, but it's got that kind of like, I don't know. It seems a little more sad to me, and a little more. It resonates a little bit more with me. I like both. I think that there's a lot of stuff to like in the Bare Naked Ladies version. I think there's more going on there, so you get like some nice. I don't know if it was a lap steel Heidi or I don't think it was a theremin, but there was definitely something that was kind of swooping there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And they're it's the aesthetic of the Bare Naked Ladies one that gives you that feel. I think that they kind of let the end kind of fade out a little bit too long, but I like the background aesthetic that they have for it.
Yeah, there's a lot of
But I
pretty
like
kind
a
of-
stripped down version too. I really, really do. It's that's like sitting around the campfire up in Umbagog kind of sound for me, but the setting, I'm not exactly sure what that is. I know it's not a theremin.
But it's almost like a
there's-
I think
martinet.
I think it's a continuum, because it is listed. A continuum is listed as one of the instruments that Kevin is playing on this album, and if I remember correctly, it sounds very similar to when the last time we talked about the continuum, what that sounded like.
Oh yeah, so it's a fingerboard.
Definitely seems like Kevin has a bleeping
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's him on the synthesizer or something, but
So I said the martinet, which is I'm more familiar with that because that's what Radiohead uses on the national anthem. I know Betsy's rolling her eyes because
I'm not. I was smiling.
It's in my contract. I have to. Okay, but
it is.
It sounds kind of like that. The martinet's got this like ring thing that you wear, and as you like pull your finger, it changes. It's really interesting. But I think the continuum has a similar kind of glidey, swoopy sound. Like a glissando, I think is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But it's got that same kind of like aesthetic to it.
It is in his contract, by the way, Betsy. But what he is not telling you is that he wrote the contract. So
while listening to Radiohead,
I required myself to mention Radiohead and They Might Be Giants.
We've got to renegotiate our contracts, Betsy. Jeez.
I know, I'm not getting nearly enough money over here either, by the way. Haven't seen a goddamn thing.
No. I mean, jeez.
Radiohead, we know you listen. Come on the show and pay me all those royalty
Paycheck,
checks.
I know you listen. Come on the show and give me some money.
What I noticed listening to the snippet of the Donovan Woods version is that it just clarifies how sort of in another ballpark Bare Naked Ladies are playing by recording and putting this song on their album. Like, I was trying to make like what other like genre or like what artist comparison can this song sound like, because it feels so uniquely Bare Naked Ladies to have this sort of like complex guitar riff line, but it's also like nothing of any of their other songs other than, you know, maybe something off of Maybe You Should
No,
Drive.
you're not the only one. I agree.
Maybe Same Thing or Am I the Only One or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Except it's so much more drive. It's so much more driving.
Yes.
Like Aaron said, the Nick Drake comparison was perfect. Actually, I was like, it's not Richie Havens. It's not. So yeah, I think it's so interesting to hear them play in that mode. And then I looked at the track listing for the Donovan Woods album, and it also has God Forbid on that album, which is the other song from Detour De Force, which has this same sound.
I've not heard either version, but while I was doing some cursory consulting of the Oracle regarding this song, I saw someone indicate that they liked the Donovan's version of God Forbid much more, but this one they thought it was much more even, and they were both pretty good in their own ways. So that's not my opinion. I'm just saying what I saw online, but I'm just kind of curious as to whether I'll agree.
The opinions of Aaron Becker do not reflect the opinion.
That was implied.
Yes.
Via the contract.
They don't reflect my own opinion. No. The opinion of
say,
Rando does not necessarily reflect the opinion of me. But no, what I think, it's cool.
I think I'm going to find that I like the newer songs on this the last two albums that Donovan has collaborated with Ed on versus
I think
his
it's nice
solo
for
stuff.
someone to have their. It kind of reminds me of like the Page Duffy stuff, or like even Robertson Page, because like having someone else have that input. I mean, I'm sure that the rest of the guys contribute, and they obviously have songs that they're primary writers for. But it does seem like there's something intentional going in like this, where it's much more of a partnership to from the outset to write a song. I do think that it produces something a little different, and it's nice to have something a little different. To that end, though, Tracy, I was going to say, if I were like an independent filmmaker making a mumblecore drama, if I were making like a Little Miss Sunshine, I would put the Donovan version of this song at the middle or like the end of the second act, like at the all is lost moment when someone's like really sad and reflecting. And then I'd have, as a reprise, the Bare Naked Ladies version over the credits. So it's got this tinge of hope to it.
Yeah.
It's got a little more hope.
Yeah.
Yep, I like that.
And just to respond to what Heidi mentioned earlier, the long outro of the song, it is a little weird when you're listening to the song on its own.
Oh,
But
yeah,
when you're
yeah.
listening to the song in the context of the album and it transitions into Internal Dynamo, it's amazing.
Did we want to start with a formal breakdown?
Go ahead and give it to
Aaron,
me.
I'm not.
'cause I've been great in finals.
Come on,
all
give it to
day,
him. Give
so
it to
I
Tyler.
have not done my homework as much as I normally do.
Fair enough. So I was going to say the original, but the Donovan Woods version is in D major, and it's right around 84 beats per minute.
That's what I have
Whereas
too.
the Bare Naked,
Nice.
yeah, it was kind of loosey goosey. So I think it was a little more free flow. But the Bare Naked Ladies version is F sharp major, and it is precisely 85 beats per minute. So just a little faster, just a little higher, and between that
Just
and
a
the
little faster,
Ed's vocal delivery and the instrumentation, it does feel a little more hopeful. And the Donovan Woods version sounds a little more doomer, but I like them both. Now, for the breakdown, I'm going to be specifically referring to the Bare Naked Ladies version. So the intro is D sharp minor to F sharp to C sharp, which is 615. Also, we could call this an interlude because it is played between verses 1 and 2, for instance. The verse is very similar, but it has a slightly more complex structure. We have D sharp minor, F sharp, B, F sharp, C sharp, so 61415. There's some variation in the repetition of the verses that I think provides a little texture. I think similar notes are being played to form slightly different chords and different inversions, possibly, but this is the gist of it. But I will note that when Taking on Water on a Man-Made Lake is sung at the end of a verse, it resolves back to F sharp, which is nice because we get a perfect resolution from the fifth to the tonic. The chorus, which is really the only other, if we're counting the intro as separate, I guess it's the third section, but the chorus is B to F sharp to C sharp to D sharp minor, which then transitions to the verse changes to cap it off. The form of the song is intro, which has our A or interlude changes. Verse 1 are B changes. Interlude is just once through the changes, very fast. Blink and you'll miss it. So that's A again. Verse 2, B again. Chorus C, verse 3, B. An instrumental section which goes over the verse changes, and you can hear that continuum amongst other things. The chorus C one more time. So A, B, C, B, C. And it's got kind of a folksy form in a way, because the chorus sort of starts differently, but then it resolves just like the verses do, which gives it the feel of like an old folk song where they have kind of a refrain. They'll do like verse, 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 refrain, verse, 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 refrain, or something like that. It's almost like a mini chorus or something, or like acts almost like a repeated bridge rather than a standard chorus.
And that makes sense too, because Donovan Woods is known to be a folk/country singer. We kind of skipped over that real quick, but Donovan, not the Donovan from way back when.
Mellow Yellow.
Yeah, exactly. Donovan Woods released his first album in 2007. This new one was his fifth album, and it was called Without People. And he has a number of people that were featured on it, like Katie Pruitt and Rise Lewis. And also songwriting credits by Ashley Monroe, Tucker Bethard, and Thomas Fincham, as well as Ed Robertson. So, Betsy, you mentioned Without People or With People. The reason I keep making this mistake is
but he had a lot of people. He made it with people.
But
ironically.
Well, he made it with people, but he also
had... Is it like Soylent? Is it like Soylent
people
Green?
Is
people. Without people is people.
But as part of his release, and I wonder if this is why it was released. Never mind, scratch that, because he released it first. But as part of the release, Woods actually launched the Donovan Woods with People project. Okay. Which featured dancers and visual artists from multiple countries doing pieces of the song doing pieces inspired by the song. So the videos from this are actually people doing inspired dance, or as we saw with this video that he did, it was an artist that was doing the art while talking, and then it looked like it was the person's child also doing the drawing on top of it. So that's why I keep getting that messed up. By the way, Aaron, you'll also be interested. He has a song on this album called Portland, Maine.
Really?
Oh,
It is indeed in Maine.
That's amazing.
It's actually
Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine, Oregon.
The Maine, Portland, Maine.
No, we were the first Portland.
Just kidding.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right.
We're the best Portland.
We're just as weird. We're just as weird as the other
We know
Portland.
you're listening to Portland, Oregon.
I'll go toe to toe with those Portland weirdos any day.
Weird.
I was totally gonna say earlier that the fact that the when I was a kid I thought it was the ocean pops up at the end of the verse. Like you get like a 2-stanza verse, and the first part's normal, and then the second part you get that like hook of like this is the hook of the song. When I was a kid, thought it was the ocean. Like it comes like 2 or 4 measures before you would expect it, which is a nice way to sort of
Yeah, it has
hook, for lack of better words, you into the song.
It's not specifically folk, but it's not really like a pop rock or country rock kind of form. It's just kind of its own thing. It's a weird kind of chimera, which I like.
Taylor Swift could never.
Never, ever, ever.
No, that's what's her name?
And
Carly Simon.
and just for all the maniacs,
Portland,
this
Maine.
is Donovan's song, Portland, Maine.
6 p.m. which time zone yours or mine? Ain't gonna worry where you are, who you with. Let's just agree this is it. Portland, Maine, I don't know where that is. Leave your bags in the car, keep it running. I won't pretend that I won't miss this. But Portland, Maine, I don't know where that is.
That song is much more Matt Nathanson core, but Matt Nathanson's also Maine.
That's what it is. Yep. That sounds very familiar.
I think I'm gonna have to do a deep dive into Donovan Woods' catalog because I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So Heidi just put something up. I don't have it directly. I'll have to hold up and I'll have to pull it up.
I have it up. I have it up right now. He's on the Mulligan Stew podcast, and at about halfway through, just over halfway through, he talks about the collaboration with Donovan, and how like being a parent and how that was reflected in the collaboration and writing of the songs. So
I will put that into the liner notes for
It's
people
pretty
to
good.
go and listen to.
you should. It's very good.
So Ed said online in the track by track that this song that Donovan had gone to a friend's house and had come home raving about how beautiful the lake and the house was, and that his father said that it wasn't because it was a man-made lake. And where they recorded this was at Ed's cabin, which is actually on a man-made lake as well. They had actually made it 100 years ago when they dammed up the south end of the lake. It looks beautiful now, he was saying, but it was once just a cedar swamp.
I don't want to get too Blade Runner on you all, but like, I agree. If you're looking at a man-made lake and you say, "Wow, look at nature's beauty," you're not seeing nature's beauty, but couldn't it still be beautiful? Like, does the fact that it's artificial necessarily mean it's not beautiful? There are beautiful sculptures and paintings and works of art that people have created that are man-made. So why? I just found it interesting that his father said that.
Well, and that's what Donovan's kind of saying through this song is like, just because it's man-made does not mean that it's not beautiful.
I was on a need to
Yeah.
know basis, and I didn't need to
Yeah.
know that. I love that.
Wait,
It's like, you
sorry,
could have just let
did
me
you say
believe in the
Blade
lake.
Runner or Roadrunner?
It's like Santa Claus.
Because we already covered Roadrunner.
Beep.
I said Blade Runner,
Road
but
runner.
Acme might make lakes.
Although if it's a man-made tunnel, you don't want to run into it. Or a bird-made
Yeah,
tunnel,
yeah.
I should say. Donovan on his album had this that he wrote in the sleeve about this song. I had this idea for a while, and no one else really liked it. I proposed it to Ed Robertson the second time that we worked together, and he liked it. He immediately felt, like I did, that there was something in that title. This one feels to me like it's about so much that I could do an undergraduate thesis on it. The best way I can describe it is to say that it's an examination of this common male sadness that I certainly very often feel. It has something to do with our fathers and the way that they were in the world, and something to do with how we're not measuring up to their maleness in most ways. And it has something to do with growing up and realizing that our anger is not useful or noble in the way that we hoped it would be. It's about feeling of waking up to adulthood and realizing that your worldview is formed by someone who is just making it up as they went along. There's no great secret for them to whisper to you. My guitar and vocal is one take, the first take, and it was intended to be a demo, but I could never beat it, so we had Joey Landreth play guitar and sing onto it too.
Well, I want to say two things. The first is that Betsy is completely correct, because that is
Yay.
one of the most Elliott Smith things I've ever
Got
heard. And the second is, now I don't feel quite so. I mean, I think it's impossible to bring up a French philosopher without sounding pretentious, but I was thinking about Jean Baudrillard writing about simulacra becoming more and more artificial and having less and less to do with what they were originally created to represent. So until there comes a time, eventually there will come a time when only the simulacra exists. So if we think about like the man-made lake, if all natural lakes, say, were to dry up, and then all that were left were man-made lakes, it would no longer be necessary to make the distinction man-made lake, as the original word lake now indicates the simulated lakes that we create, and the original is lost.
Is the man-made lake right by the big backyard?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, it's just down the street from the old apartment. See, I can play this game.
It's down the narrow street.
Oh,
right.
well, from there you can see the tower.
And Louis the Loon lives on that man-made lake. So
Oh, watch
Oh,
it.
and here come the
Here
geese.
come the geese.
Hold
Yes,
on.
thank you. Yes.
They're
Holy
aggressive.
crap! Our geese are assholes. So one of our geese.
They're not kind.
They're aggressive, but they live well on the flat Earth.
Because we have 2 geese and we have like 9 ducks and 457 chickens. But we have 2 female geese and they're like, she is hostile. And their names are Aphrodite and Athena, and they're both bitches.
Well,
Just
the
saying.
Greek gods were kind of jerks.
So what you're saying, Heidi, is that when the geese come around, it's a new disaster?
Ooh, new disaster.
It is a new disaster.
We've been
A
talking a
poop
lot about
disaster,
poop
too.
lately.
They poop everywhere.
Tyler, you were going to say something.
I appreciate Aaron's philosophical insert there, and Tracy, you reading out that whole interview part, and Heidi, you digging that up. I don't know what came from where, but I mean,
Thank you. That was Tyler's addition to the show. Thank you.
it's totally it is totally a layered song, and the first time you hear a song like this, it doesn't all process the first time. It took me several listens to the song to be like, oh, that's what it's about. For one thing, the song screams, I went to therapy.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
And in my head canon, I don't know, I'm assuming Ed Robertson actually had been to therapy
Yes.
over the years.
At this point, he had.
But it certainly screams, he of all people, and Detour De Force sort of has a little bit of this. He of all people had definitely seems like the genre of person who didn't go to therapy until 2020. And then
yeah.
Actually, he said when he was talking about this album is that he had never done therapy, had never approached therapy, and then this album in some ways is about him and what happened to him when he did finally go to therapy, which is where we get Live Well, we get this song, and a couple other songs as well.
Yeah.
And that's what he prefaces when he did the live performance for Live Well. That's what he says. He's like, this song was hard for me to write, and if you're going through a hard time, talk to somebody, it'll help. So
Yeah.
essentially,
And
that's the condensed version, but yeah.
And I wanted to talk about that, that metaphor more, taking on water on a man-made lake. I mean, sounds like we're getting into the lyrics, but the man-made lake is the sort of like ultimate piece of imagery. Like if this is a poem or a painting, the man-made lake is the main image. But the taking on water is so interesting because it's that extra layer on top of it. I wanted to quote my own philosopher after Aaron did. His name's John Michael Osborne. He had the line about going off the rails on the crazy train.
Of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most.
This is almost a similar metaphor. It's like, okay, the crazy train is the man-made lake.
It's
and
going off the rails
water on the man-made lake. It's although I've always thought if you're on the crazy train and you go off the rails, isn't that an improvement? But anyway,
well, the thing is, it's like a fork, right? And one of them is the road to wellness, and the other is the road to even more crazy, I think.
But it is such a powerful metaphor for Ed and Donovan
Absolutely.
Woods to write. Like you're in an artificial situation and you're drowning. Like you wouldn't be drowning if it hadn't been made, but it was made and you're drowning in it.
That's an interesting point as well, yeah, because it wouldn't have been there otherwise.
That hits.
Sorry, Beth, did I cut you off?
I said, damn, that hits.
Okay, yeah, that does hit. Well, it's interesting because you mentioned therapy, right? And I know the cliche is I went to therapy and I discovered my parents are to blame for everything, right? But this song is about parents. I mean, specifically referred to fathers, but I think this is true of both parents. Like when you're a child, and this is the great paradox of being a parent, right? Not that I know anything about that. I'm not one, but just from my experience having been raised by wolves. No, having been raised. So, yeah, exactly. Like the paradox is children just kind of assume that their parents know everything.
Raised by
and
wolves.
You have to kind of let them believe that because you have to make sure that they take what you say seriously so you can keep them out of harm's way and you can make sure they're safe and you can make sure they're making good choices. So I think that's why, when adolescence hits, aside from the hormones, I think that's kind of like the time where we start to realize like, oh, parents are just us but older. And you start to realize they are fallible. They're not always right. And it kind of shakes your world, right? Because your whole world up until that point has been like, oh, mom and dad know what's going on. But they don't. No one does. But we can't just say that because then kids would just run off and play in the street. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of allow that illusion to continue
Mine does anyway.
for as long as you can. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a battle, I'm sure. But that's kind of the impression I got.
Now, I had similar notes about that, like that taking on water is that loss, that realization, the reality of all is hitting in that moment of like, my dad isn't this all-knowing kind of presence. He is human, fallible, and making it up as he goes along. And once that realization comes in, you feel like you're sinking. You feel like you're barely holding on and keeping your head above the water.
Sometimes your dad is driving you back from a party and maybe he's had a few and you're laying down in the back seat, as per the lyrics.
But people didn't say shit those days.
That was the verse that hit me.
Actually, it's true. Back then,
no, they really didn't. They'd be like, you go on, right on home. Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Well, the drunk driving laws weren't really instructified until the 70s, which would have been
against drunk driving.
Oh, yeah.
That's what really pushed it. Once again, women, just like with prohibition in the 30s, women leading the way.
It is a man-made
No
lake,
fun
not a
zone.
woman-made lake.
Well, I'm not saying I'm glad for prohibition, but it was a very important. It kind of went hand in hand with suffragettes to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Did anyone have favorite lines in this
Well,
song?
the verse that I think the entirety of verse 3 is my favorite. I'm just a boy, I know, frozen in a picture. What was that smile I made? So I think they're like looking back at an old Polaroid of them or something, and kind of just remembering their innocence and remembering that unwavering confidence in your parents' correctitude. I'll just make up a word.
For me, it's got to be just, from the sort of main refrain. When I was a kid, I thought it was the ocean. Like, that's so powerful. Like it, like, and it, because it's a universal feeling. Like when you're a kid in New England, even maybe you guys might connect to this, and you go to the beach, but the beach is just a lake.
But if it goes
So
to the
it's not-
horizon, for all you know, it keeps on going forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the beach, but
Until you can prove otherwise.
to you, that's like, as a kid, that's the experience, and then you realize, no, the ocean is something that's completely different. But it's also the emotional experience of like, I thought that was the way the world was. I thought that was everything, and now I'm realizing it was all, a man-made lake. I'm realizing that.
Sorry, I try not to interrupt, but Tyler just blew my mind because this ties back to what we were saying earlier about
Things
parents
are
kind of
made
trying
up.
to protect their kids, right? So
Yeah.
like it's like the walled garden. It's the man-made lake. Because I was just thinking like the ocean is about a bajillion times more dangerous than a lake, right? So like if your parents are creating this man-made lake environment for you, maybe that's like an overprotective kind of thing where like you get out into the real world and it's the ocean, and the ocean is much more dangerous, and maybe you're not ready for that.
But then I
Makes a
like
lot of sense.
going back. There's that hypocrisy of like that they're going and doing everything they can to protect you, but then they drive with you in the car while they've been drinking, and they know it's not the best idea.
Well, the kid's not going to
Unless
drive.
it's short round.
Maybe you should drive.
Wow, that was. You know what? I award you one internet.
Deep pull.
You won the
Yay.
internet today.
I'll display it proudly.
I also like the line about I was on a need to know basis. I didn't need to know
Yeah.
that.
That was a nice little kind of flipping the script on that.
So sometimes that we think that we know all the facts, but really the facts kind of detract away from the beauty of the moment and
It's
the
like
beauty of nature.
learning how the magician does their tricks.
Or what's inside a hot dog.
Or haggis.
And even the
I see this in so many ways. This lyric song, like the lyrics can be so metaphorical and so beautiful when you're a kid, you think the world is, like you said, it's so big. And then as you get older and you don't realize everything that an adult has to take on, and each one of them just adds more to your boat to make you sing out of your own doing. It's man-made, what we do to ourselves. And so, if I'm busy, it's because I chose to take on this, that, or the other beyond my normal job. And so I've made that. That's my man-made lake. And but I used to think, oh, I have all that time as an adult, and you have all this. You don't have to be in school all day long. You get to go to work, but gosh, you don't have to go to sports every night and all this stuff. And you get to choose what you do. You get to choose how you live your life as an adult. And so when you're a kid,
Kinda.
you think, woof. No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then that man-made lake that you create for yourself, where you're like, oh, like I just gave up. I don't have school board anymore because my term was up. I don't do diaconate anymore. That's all. That term is up. but yet then I'm like, oh, well, then I'll have time to take on the farmer's market this summer. And then I'll have time to, so I keep filling in after I say, oh no, I'm going to be so wide open. Summer's here, the semester's over. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, I could do that conference and I could do that because I decide I'll just take that on. And, and so I think it's such a beautiful dual purpose song because you've got you get that direction when you're a kid. Like he said, someone's dad decided where you should go. The trees beside it, every rock inside it, it was built by man. So they were like creating this world. Same thing when you're a kid. Your parents choose the house you live in. Your parents choose the clothes that they buy for you when you're younger. And so those decisions are all made for you. And now you're making all those decisions yourself. And it can be really overwhelming. And teaching college kids, I see that all the time, especially now.
Oh, yeah.
The anxiety rates and emotional support doves, and I'm not even kidding. A dove. So there's that.
At least it wasn't a
and
goose.
No, it wasn't a goose, but it did wear pants. So there is that. I know she won't listen,
Dove,
so I'm
dove,
okay.
dove, goose.
But thinking to that side too, that's that lovely parallel line of what your childhood is like, and then what you do to yourself as an adult too. Yeah, it's that safety, like that kind of ode to parents, that ode to some folks. I was not lucky enough to be raised in a very safe environment, but that safety of, you know, I remember you so clearly driving home from parties. People never said shit in those days about, like I'm laying in the backseat staring at the headlights glaring, moving the opposite way, but I'm completely safe. Like it's such a great, I don't know, it's a very beautiful song.
It
And
brought
that's
back
kind of where
vivid
I've
memories
taken
for
it
me.
from the very beginning. I've always kind of seen it as that loss of young, youthful innocence and that safety net that some parents give you. But I don't know if anybody else kind of got that feel as well.
Absolutely. I have vivid memories of laying in the back seat of a car, and I always used to like to watch the lights go by. So I mean, it definitely takes you to a place. There's this kind of loss of innocence, loss of this coming of age kind of feel to the whole thing. But it kind of reminded me of when you were talking about all the different responsibilities. We have mortgage, and we have work, we have other utility bills, we have maintenance we have to do to keep the house, a living space clean. It just sort of when you made the analogy of being in a canoe or whatever with a leak, it connected back with what we were talking about with Wile E. Coyote and the cartoon logic. It's like you plug one hole with your finger and another one springs up somewhere else, so you move your toe over there to fill it. You can never get them all. You're always going to take on water.
Heidi, what you were saying actually reminded me of, weirdly, I don't know if any of you guys are film fans, but one of the Oscar nominated shorts in the animated category from this past year was a French film called Pachyderm. And it covers these exact same themes about a woman reflecting on her past, like, childhood visits to her grandparents' house. And it is very much like that reckoning with what I thought was a cozy part of my childhood was actually where all this shit started.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to seek out Pachyderm and watch it because that sounds really, really cool.
But anyway, I love this
Highly
song.
recommended.
Well, speaking of awards, what do we want to award this song?
we should let the guests decide. Tyler, how should we rate this? 0 to 5 what's?
Oh man,
Hey,
Yes.
Aaron. You're making him uncomfortable.
Oh, so if you don't want the weight of that particular responsibility, we can redirect that to Tracy.
No, I appreciate final say. I was just trying to dig.
Aaron, you should make yourself uncomfortable.
I'm always uncomfortable. I'm an introvert.
I was trying to dig. I was looking at the lyrics and I was trying to dig back to all the jokes that we had
Tyler
made throughout the
froze.
episode. I was like,
Oh,
He was trying to, and he couldn't. No. Failure to launch soon.
no.
He didn't
Oh,
want the
no.
responsibility, so he just unplugged his Ethernet cable. My house is going through a bridge.
I can still hear you. Nope, now it's gone. Okay.
It's too much.
Going under a tunnel,
It's
yeah.
like, oh, sorry, internet problems. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
Run through a
It's a
tunnel.
mobile
Well, while we're
home,
waiting
you
for him
see?
to be able to return, I wanted to just say next week's song is "Make Yourself Uncomfortable."
Oh, well, that's perfect for me.
Well, okay.
You're like, Ed, I didn't need
I
the
don't
advice.
like
Thank you.
Oh, no.
Officially
I have a man-made pond in my backyard. We didn't expect we were going to have a man-made pond in the backyard, but when we started pushing back for the garage build and we were expanding so that he could do the garden and stuff and have animals, they started digging and it's a full clay pond. So he dug down like 5 feet, 6 feet. The big excavator guy that I put giant googly eyes on, and he dug down and it just kept coming in.
How
So
big?
it's a natural clay pond in my backyard. And it's pretty good size. It's good size. Our ducks and geese, they love it. One of our dogs, Bear, that passed away last year, or 2 years ago, she loved swimming in the pond. But yeah, it's a regular clay pond. It doesn't. It's stayed the same level and everything. It's really dark and we can't figure out how to get it more clear because it's natural clay.
After these messages.
We'll be right back.
Sorry, everybody. We'll be back to you in a few short moments. Technical difficulties.
And we have a Tyler. By the way, this was the first song that was recorded for the album. And it was
Oh, really?
the name of the album for a very long time.
All right. Well, let's
I
rate this
suppose-
sucker because I am melting right now in my house.
So, Tyler, what are we rating this?
Melting! Look at this. Look at me. I am glistening with uck.
I know what you mean, Heidi. I had to sit
that-
through a graduation ceremony earlier today in the hot sun.
Oh, ours was Saturday, but luckily we were under a tent. Even though I was wearing doctoral garb and it's heavy
Well,
stuff.
now we got to rate it
Heavy.
in doctoral
Yeah, that
garbs
garbs you.
because I love that phrase. So
Doctoral garb.
It really garbs your attention.
See how that gabs it. I even have the
or
hat.
the
I like
other
that.
option was
Bird
bird
Made
made
Tunnels is also
tunnels.
very good.
Ooh, bird-made tunnels.
That was the other funny
it.
phrase
Yeah.
that was
I like
stated
bird-made tunnels. That's
at an
good.
earlier point in the episode.
Bird-made tunnels
Yeah,
is
okay.
good.
So
I
how
like
many
it. Let's go
bird-made
with that.
tunnels?
Okay.
Okay, so, Aaron, how many bird-made tunnels do you give this song?
I don't know. This is a tough one. I really do like it a lot. It's certainly one of the better songs we've heard on the last couple of albums that we've been covering, in my opinion. The real benchmark, I think, is this something I'm going to seek out and listen to? And I do think so. I think I do slightly prefer Donovan's version, but I think this just makes the best of playlist. So I'm going to say 4 bird-made tunnels out of 5.
Nice.
Okay, what about you, Heidi?
I love this song very, very much. I am giving this. I'm going to give this
Nice, very
4.8
nice.
bird-made tunnels.
Okay,
I love it. I like it
I
very
can
much.
tell. Betsy, what do you think?
Yeah, I really like this one.
Let me just boil down my notes here. So I prefer the Bare Naked Ladies version because it's the first one I heard and I kind of fell in love with it first. And then the Donovan Woods version was good, but it's not as powerful somehow. And I like all the noodling that Kevin does on this, or whatever that instrument is in the background. I like hearing Jim on the bass, and it feels like nice and dreamlike when it opens. Well, I knew what I was going to rate this initially, and yeah, I'm gonna skip all this. It's a 5.
Wow!
Yeah, I almost gave it a 5, and I'm like, you know what, Betsy?
Yeah, it was never a question.
I'm gonna move mine up to a 5.
Yeah, from the first time I heard it, all the soul searching, all the everything. Easy 5.
I'm gonna change mine to a 5 too. You're right. It deserves it. I love it.
Very nice.
Everything about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Easy.
I love it. Love this song so much.
Wow.
No.
Betsy,
No.
is that your first
What,
5?
What the kind of a question is this?
Oh,
What kind of fan would I be if we got to like 2021 and there's only one?
Yeah, we
5?
better get Tyler
I'm
quick
kind of worried that we're going to lose Tyler
before
again.
his Wi-Fi corrupts out.
Well, I mean, you were only
Finally.
you only came in on the M,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, Betsy gave You Runaway a 5.
that's
Engineers probably.
Tyler, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Off the hook.
I see that you're trying to conserve your Wi-Fi. Do you want to give us your score before we lose you a third time?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I have the unique position of being the guest who asks what songs I want to come on for, and therefore has no reason to not rate things 5 stars.
Yeah, we're trapped here. So
Yeah!
Enjoy.
Join the 5 club.
In the spirit of encouraging men to go to therapy, I will give it 5 stars.
yay!
Nice.
No.
Heavily agree.
You fucker!
Wow.
I have to agree with that sentiment for sure.
Yeah, come on. Oh, you can open up that private practice.
You don't want the business, Tracy?
Job security, dude.
My point was, like,
Well,
after a statement like that, like, as a therapist, how can I give it lower than a 5? Like, that's just cruel, Tyler.
Take it on, haterade in a man.
Put yourself in my place, Tracy. I just made a man-made... I'm taking on
Electrolytes.
haterade in a man-made lake full of haterade.
Well, I mean,
I like the song a lot.
I'm right there with you in that canoe, Aaron. We're both paddling and
It's a
and
very
bailing.
good song.
We're drinking the haterade, but it's a man-made lake of haterade that we're just trying to bail constantly.
The
Because
barest sip.
I love the harmonies in this
One
song.
drunk.
I think it's a really nice addition. I like what Kevin's adding in. I usually don't like synth
I
in
know.
like electronic type stuff, but I really dig it in this song.
it's well done.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4.
Okay, great.
But that makes
What?
but Tyler made me
That's
uncomfortable.
it, Betsy. Hold on. I'm coming up to man right now. We're gonna kick Tracy's
What
butt.
the hell? Change your score. This is profound.
That's so much. I'm gonna put holes in your boat for that one. Are you?
Yeah. Are you sure?
Wow. Betsy, I thought
All
we
right.
knew him.
We're
Alas,
in the
poor
canoe.
Tracy. I thought I knew you well.
Hold on. Tyler's talking.
Look, Tracy, one of us can row while
I
the
know,
other one
that's why I
plugs
had to
up all
stand
the
up
holes.
for ya.
I was gonna say I think that Heidi
We'll
put
get
the
to
holes
shore.
there. I think Aaron, we should just
honestly,
head
it's
to
a
that
very
new
good-
shore.
Yeah, a new shore. Land ho.
What's that,
It's
Tyler?
interesting because with some of these, post Steve era songs, you are kind of grading on a curve.
Yeah.
what this song represents to the band in a post-Steve era. It's like, oh, they are capable of doing something extremely thoughtful that before they only did sort of with the collaboration with Stephen Page. And this song is kind of like a, hey, you know, we have feelings too. We're the guys who stuck together and kept having fun as a group, but like we hurt inside also, and we can make something beautiful out of that.
Everybody hurts.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because when I think of some of the songs that I've given fives to, like Powder Blue and Call and Answer and Brian Wilson and The Flag, you know, like there's a trend here.
You're so melancholy and emo.
So I am. I'm the
Me too.
the resident
You
emo.
know, I would love to hear like the
Yeah,
Kimya
emo.
Dawson version of this song.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So like, as you say, Tyler, if I were to grade this on a curve, I won't. I refuse to do that. But if I were, then this would be a 5 without question. But when I compare it to like those songs that I gave a 5 to, those are really
nostalgia.
special.
It's just
And I
nostalgia
love this
tainting
one,
your
but
judgment.
I just don't love
That's
it that much.
totally okay.
Not as much as those ones.
And I like this song. I don't like this song as much as some other songs, and I don't like this song as much as New Disaster. So I can't,
I like New Disaster
I
a
can't
little bit.
give it a 5.
That's
I just
okay.
can't.
It's a
I
very
can't
good song,
grade
and it certainly
students'
deserves to be on the
papers when
best of
you know
playlist.
they're terrible. I can't give them an A if it sucks. So I totally get it. But this is so good.
I just feel Betsy's giving us dagger eyes. Watch your back, Tracy.
Heidi is like laying in with the passive aggressive comments.
It's just my allergies, I swear. They're dry. They're just a little dry. I wouldn't push.
I had to
your
ask
score
you guys
one
a
way or the other.
question.
What's that, Tyler?
So I have this weird thing where I'm terrible at listening to music, and a band that I really like will put out a new album, and I just won't listen to it. I listened to a couple songs from In Flight when they were releasing the singles, and I heard that song Too Old, and I was like, what is this like grumpy old man shtick that we're doing? I don't know if I like this. I liked the woke BNL of Detour De Force, and I don't like this new BNL where they're complaining. And is the rest of In Flight worth listening to, or am I just going to be grumpy though?
Thank you.
Is there a song like Man Made
Hear
Lake
that.
on that album? Like,
Not from Ed.
Yeah.
Although next week we are
Sorry.
discussing Make Yourself Uncomfortable, which is the B-side of
Which is
it's the unreleased track that was only on the vinyl from In Flight. I have not listened to this song at all. Given the title, maybe, just maybe, it has some hope.
Okay.
is it the new anthem for colonoscopies everywhere?
Make yourself uncomfortable.
They play it whenever you go in for one.
They're gonna do like an ad on like you should really get your colorectal screening. Make yourself
What?
uncomfortable. I haven't heard it yet, but
All right,
You can
y'all.
jingleify it.
jingleify it.
yeah. Thanks for having me back on the pod. I don't know if I have a scheduled return, but when we turn the page to the next era of the podcast, I do have a lot to say about Steve's solo career.
A great conversation.
That's a wrap.
Welcome
there's Tyler.
back.
Welcome back.
Good, you glad you can make it
Oh,
back?
I will come back for Internal Dynamo.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming
for
on.
sure.
Yeah, when there's like another good song.
Oh.
Oh,
Yes, indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Good to see you all.
When I was a kid, I thought it was the ocean. Now I'm taking on water on a man-made lake.